All right, so you probably noticed when you press play that your character kind of like marches in place and he doesn't walk anywhere, right? So if we select AJ here, if we move him like we've been doing, those cameras switch fine. Actually, why is this one not dolly tracking? Let me see. Dolly track, camera 01. Oh, for some reason my follow is off. Let me take that off. I think I was playing with it before in between the lectures. There we go. So you can see that it dolly tracks him, cuts there. All right, so the issue is because remember on our dolly game object, I think it was this camera, we had added this here. Go to your clear shot camera 0, the first one, and just add another on camera live section so that we can trigger scripts, because that's what this is for. So when the camera goes live, we can go to our AJ model here, go to that same script NPC nav mesh controller, go down to set destination and grab that waypoint, and that's going to trigger that code we wrote. Remember this code right here, where all it does is it grabs our agent, and on awake, it sets the nav mesh, which is this blue area, to the agent itself, and then it just says, look for this destination, and set that destination to the waypoint. So now when we press play, it should work fine for us. There you go. Perfect. All right, cool. Now it looks pretty cool. Something else we can try is, let's say we wanted to have a better establishing shot, right? We wanted a camera like all the way out here, and what it's doing is it's setting the whole scene for us, right? It's fitting in both our end goal, which is that kid, and also AJ, so something like this. But we want to make sure that it's always fitting in both of those guys. Where there's a type of camera called the target group camera. So let me go ahead and move this down here, back over here for a moment, and let's take a look at how we can add that. All right, so just like we did with our dolly game object, so we can focus on it, go ahead and disable your clear shot camera. And then I want you to right click and go to Cinemachine, and I want you to add a target group camera. And you can see here, we have a target group here and we have a virtual camera here. And our virtual camera is actually facing out into the universe here. So you can see here, like, as we move this around, this is the one that we want. Now, the reason why it's locked like this and we can only kind of adjust it in these parameters here is because down here, we have this look at and follow that it's looking for. And also it's looking for the target group that we want to put inside of here. So for instance, we wanted to see that look at. So now you can see it snapped to his look at here. And then, well, what's the other area of interest? Well, our Todd model, I believe that also has the look at, but we could also just use the waypoint because our waypoint is our final destination. So if we look at this target group and we grab our waypoint here and drop that in there, now you can see that the camera is positioned like here. And I'll show you how to adjust all of this in a second. But and then we have this the virtual camera setup here, which is just it's follow and look at is our target group. And you can see here's our lens. So this is how we adjust our lens, our near and far clip plane. I'm going to leave that at 0.3 because we want it very close. Now, just like before, I'm going to name this instead of virtual camera, target group camera. Let's make sure I do that right. And let's go ahead and save that. Now we have a target group camera and a target group. Now, because I want to do an establishing shot, go to your target group camera here, and you'll see there's a follow and look at. Go ahead and go up here, and then just set this to none. And the reason for that is I just wanted to look at, and I wonder if you can clear that by just, if you right click in here and clear. No, I guess you have to do it that way where you have to click and then change it to none. All right, so let's say you want the shot to be something like this, right? Where I like to use my scene view for kind of laying stuff out. Go ahead and select your target group and then go to game object and either hit Control Shift F or hit align with view. And that'll align our target group with our essentially our camera view. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, Control Shift F for our target group camera, right? And then if I don't like it and I think it's too tight, I can select it and just kind of move it back a little bit and move it up. And you can see here what it's doing is it's doing its best to kind of fit both of them in there. So he might be a little bit too far out, actually, him, the destination waypoint. Let's move this waypoint a little bit closer. And then let's move Todd model in a bit more. Yeah, so that kind of gives us a little bit of a perspective on what he's looking at before it cuts over to our clear shot camera. And now this target group camera, again, the definition behind it, like if you were like, what are we using this for again? It's used for putting multiple objects, making sure that the camera fits multiple objects in the scene view. Now, remember, we have in our essentially in our target group camera here, we have a lookout section called target group camera. And if you expand aim here, you could see there's a maximum field of view and a minimum. So if I move this minimum out a little bit, you can see it helps me to better frame the camera, right? So say you wanted it to be a little bit more out like this, where the shot has a little bit more of them both contained. And you're also thinking about the rule of thirds, right? So it's nice to have them like this. This makes for a much more interesting camera angle. All right, now for testing too, remember if I press play right now, it's not going to do anything because we don't have that on-camera live event. Remember, what this means is when I press play and this camera is activated, we can run scripts from here. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, grab my AJ model, drop it inside of here, go to no function, go to NPC nav mesh controller, go to set destination transform, and you probably guessed it, the destination I'm looking for is waypoint. So now we can test this camera based on the actual nav mesh. So when we press play here, we have that camera, again, locked in and following both of them. And you could see it even shows how it closes the distance between the camera and there by this field of view, the frustum here, which is the coming off the camera, the lens. So if you can see here, you see how it evens out till we get there. Now let's do something else. Let's add another character, just kind of like they're having a conversation. Both Todd and let's bring back Sophia, and let's see. And we're just going to bring in the Sophia model here, and let's turn her 180 degrees on the y-axis. So they're having a conversation here, and she's quite a bit bigger than him. Let's make sure she's zeroed out on the y-axis. And she's standing here, and they're just having a conversation. And let's see. We have the Sophia controller. I'll drag that on to Sophia here. And let's double click it to make sure that it's set to, let's see, what is it set to? It's not set to anything on this one. Okay, so we have an angry. I think that's all we have for Sophia. We have a walking. So let's go ahead and jump over to Mixamo and grab a Sophia idle. All right, so I went to Mixamo. I found my Claire model that was inside of here, and I'm just going to go to animations here. As I mentioned before, in theory, they're supposed to be interchangeable, like you can select any character, but always just do it this way for now, because then you're going to have some trouble. Sometimes they're not completely compatible. The rigs are slightly off, and that's a problem. So here's our idle, and let's do idle, and maybe let's type in talking. Maybe there's a talking animation. Let's see how this one looks. This is more than perfect. All right, I'm going to go ahead and download and import this in. So I'm going to hit download here. I'm going to do it without the skin, and I'm going to go ahead and hit download. I don't know if I had trouble with it without the skin, but let's just see what happens. All right, so here's my Sophia talking that I just brought in. I'll drag Sophia in here, and yep, it looks like that connected. I'm also going to right-click on Sophia here, and I'm going to create a folder and just call this animations. And that way I can take talking, walking, angry, this one, and just drag them all in that animations folder. And I'm going to go ahead and check this in. So, all right. So what I like to do is let's select the Sophia talking animation. Let's rename it to talking. And we kind of want it to loop. That means loop over and over again. And we can loop pose, which means it takes the first and last frame and it makes them the same so it looks natural. And then what I can do is expand this, and now it should be called talking, and I'll just drag that in there. And it should by default be set to talking, which is here. And if I click on that and I select this clip, you can see it's loop time and loop pose. So now if I press play, I should jump to my game window here. You can see like he's like being disciplined or talked to or something like that from her. And she keeps talking, and he comes up to him. We're going to fix all of that because we're going to make this. We're going to take everything we learned in the next video and put it all together into a full cinematic. All right, so what we'll do in the next scene is we'll start the process of polishing this up, getting more animations in. Actually, I think what we'll mostly do is focus on connecting our target group camera, our clear shot camera, and our dolly. Well, just really these two because we have a dolly camera as a child here. This was more about teaching you how dolly cameras work. And I don't, by the way, I don't anticipate you remembering all of this. So, like, if you want copies of these videos, let me know, reach out to me so you can use them in the future for your other projects, your personal projects or whatever. But anyway, I think that's good for this for now.